Hey guys, welcome back for another review of The Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 9 and this episode was good, but there are some things that we're going to talk about that made me mad because I went to Twitter and Wendy shed some light on the situation with her and Giselle as to what happened when they went to lunch, but we'll get to it. I feel like Karen isn't being realistic. I like her, but I need her to stop the foolishness because the moment that she decided to get in the car and make whatever decisions that she made that day, where she was then later taken into custody and charged with multiple things, one of those things being a DUI, she knew that this was going to be a topic of conversation and that the cast, as well as us, the viewers, would have questions. It's obvious something is going on with her, and I think that if she wasn't prepared to answer those questions, she shouldn't have been on the show this season. But go ahead, do me a favor, hit the like button as we begin. So the episode starts with Mia fleeing to the bathroom. She's in there because of Giselle and Karen and how they basically said that she wasn't protecting her kids. So she's in the bathroom still acting like she's crying. Meanwhile, there's some people that are surrounding her and others that are sitting outside. So she's fake crying while Jacqueline's telling her, like, you're not a bad mom. They don't have any room to talk, yada, 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 which is true. They don't have room to talk because they all have things about themselves, but a fact is a fact. Wendy is at the table saying that they are all moms, that it's not okay to say things like that, and they shouldn't be judging her. I need Wendy to stay out of it because I don't care what the implication is. A fact, as I said earlier, is a fact. And neither Gordon nor Mia nor Ink are protecting the kids by bringing this on TV. It shouldn't have been done. Giselle, talks about Gordon going to TMZ and she's like, I feel like he did that because he was hurt, because of the overlap, and because of how Mia handled the situation. Mia doesn't appreciate that what Karen did was, rather than talking about her stuff, that she used her situation with Ink as a deflection to talk about her. That's what Karen did. Karen, she kind of admits that she did it, but that's what she did. So Giselle ends up, while they're in the bathroom, giving Wendy a bucket hat. She does this little lame rap. Giselle says, our friendship has, is kind of in a bucket right now. So I want us to get together tomorrow to talk about things. As soon as she said it, I said, it is very clear to me that production must have gotten on them, because prior to this, Giselle wouldn't even look Wendy's way. She wouldn't say hello to her. She wouldn't even allow her to touch her. And now you want to sit out here and you want to go to lunch alone, sitting across from Wendy, having a discussion. Yeah, right. Wendy agrees to go. Giselle gives herself a hat called the Queen. She then gives Vivian, Stacy, and Jesse a derby hat, saying that, they're new to the group. This is like a derby. Mia comes back to the table. Giselle apologizes, says, I didn't mean to make you cry or insinuate that you were a bad mom. Karen apologizes as well, saying, I've seen you with your kids and I understand that divorce isn't easy. Jacqueline then also gets a derby hat because she's rejoining the group. Jacqueline is like, yeah, I should have never been kicked out. They point out that it's Mia's fault. And in confessional, Mia says that she does not like that they blame it on her. But it's true. It has to do with you because Jacqueline is your friend. You brought Jacqueline into that dynamic, and Jacqueline and Candace and whomever else were going at it. Remind me, because it's been a while. They present the cake to Karen and they take pictures, and Karen feels accomplished because she dodged their questions. Like, she literally says that in so many words. So it's the next day. Wendy is walking the streets with her arms that are full of feathers. She's there to meet Giselle for lunch. Wendy lets it be known that the feathers are her coming in with open arms. I don't get what Wendy's talking about. I really feel like there's a lot of times where she's too friendly to Giselle, but I'm going to leave it alone. She says, Hell has frozen over because the same person who didn't want to be touched has now invited her to lunch. She talks about how she's getting closer. She's inching, as she says, closer to 40. And because of that, she's now open to having different conversations because she's basically over the immature and the petty stuff. So she wants them to be able to move past their past. Giselle feels the same way. She says she's open to hearing her out. Giselle says one of her issues with Wendy is that when they are fine, they are fine. But when Wendy is angry, Wendy is very condescending. And even though Giselle is the same way, she doesn't like that it's done to her. She then begins to criticize the way that Giselle is eating her oysters. Giselle tries to act like that's an example of her being overly critical. Wendy's like, look, you can't police how I respond to different things. And Giselle's like, look, I don't try to police how you respond. This is how I feel about it. You can say whatever you want to say to people, but you have to be prepared for those same people to not necessarily like what you have to say and have a comeback. I like Wendy. Wendy is condescending at times, but Giselle pointing that out is like pot, meet, kettle, because Giselle is condescending too, and she's not innocent because Giselle did things that were far worse than Wendy. Wendy speaking to you in a certain tone is not the same as you making false allegations about some of these women's husbands, including Eddie, and you continuing to get away with it. Giselle is problematic too, but that doesn't get pointed out as much. We're going to get into it. So Wendy points out how she does not like the way that Giselle alienates people. Giselle's like, I don't alienate anybody. If I don't like you, then I'm not going to talk to you. That's fair. That's how it would be in the real world, but you're on a show and your job is to work with this cast. She does try to alienate people. She tries to ice them out. We've seen her do it with Monique. We saw her do it with Wendy and Candace, and I'm sure there's others that I forgot. I think she did it at one time with Katie too. So they look forward to moving forward. They said if they have an issue that they'll address it with each other. I didn't think that they really addressed this. I didn't like it. I was displeased. I wrote it down in my notes. I don't want them to argue, but I wanted Wendy to hold Giselle accountable. It was an awkward scene for me because it's clear that they're only talking, number one, because of Robin and Candace being gone. And number two, because they don't have any other allies. Wendy should have held Giselle to the fire. Then I took to Twitter and I saw someone by the name of the Brooke Ashley. I watch her from time to time. And she tweeted, I am all for moving on, forgiving, but we have to have some tough conversations and get to the root. Wendy let her off way too easy and didn't bring up anything. This is crazy. And I said, those are exactly my sentiments. But Wendy responded and she said, no, baby. I brought up everything in all caps, saying I could not use her bathroom at the Reasonably Shady event, saying it was okay for me to be assaulted because she doesn't like me, bringing up a fake rumor about my husband, talking badly about my mother, etc. It was a 2-hour lunch. And she tagged Real Housewives of Potomac, which means production is still playing games. Production, why do you guys keep on cutting out important things that matter to us? Too much has been said and done in this dynamic with this particular person, doing this to other people, making false claims and repeating rumors from sources that aren't worth repeating, just to now act like, okay, it's water under the bridge. We're going to skim this real quick, make sure that Giselle continues to look like she's trying here and that she's trying to be the better person and then move on. That's not fair. We've watched the show. So Giselle then changes the subject, asking about how she feels like the Hatitude event went. Wendy says it was nice, but I think that Mia was really hurt. I need Wendy to stop standing up for Mia. This is the same woman that assaulted you. I need you not to go so hard for her. I get that you may have felt bad for her, but you don't need to come to her defense. She has a big mouth. She can speak for herself. Giselle says that she wasn't questioning her as a mother, that wasn't in her intention. Next thing you know, we're talking about Ink and how short Ink is. And apparently Karen had met him before and said that she almost missed him because of how short he is. They laugh again. When I was younger, the height thing mattered. I mean, I wanted somebody who was at least 6 feet tall. I got it, but I'm just saying. But here's the thing. I had some nerve at that point, considering I'm 5'2". Why do the short women always want the tall men? It's not fair. But I feel like it's superficial. I don't like Mia, but if that person makes her happy, and if she actually gets a divorce and she handles this the way that I think she should, then go ahead, knock yourself out, girl. So we go from that scene to Stacy's house. We meet her trilingual daughter, Bella, who is extremely smart. She just needs to work on her learning her parents' phone numbers. We all really do, because we rely so heavily on smartphones. There are some numbers that I know by heart. My mom's, my dad's, and both of my grandmother's landlines. I know those by heart. Other numbers, it's not happening. Oh, on my work phone. My son's, it depends on the day. Most of the time I know it, sometimes I don't. Anyways, it's something that we all should learn. So we find out that even though she's currently separated and going through a divorce, that she and her husband are still living in the same house. But when they're together, they sleep in different bedrooms. They have two places, or she does, because she has the home with her husband, and then she has an apartment. Now, the home is the primary residence because that's where her child is. The apartment is where she goes when her husband isn't home. She says she's working, but she's really at the apartment. She tries to make sure that she's not there when he's there. They're going to keep it this way. They're not telling their child about the divorce because they don't want to worry her about it, at least not until they work things out and determine things like custody and school and where she would live. I may not agree with them letting her not know anything, but it's not my situation. I feel like she's an intelligent child, and I wouldn't be surprised if she already knows that something is going on between her parents, because she's probably not seeing them interact the way that they normally would, like kissing on each other and things of that nature. I'm a child of divorce, and my parents sitting me down and being honest with me about the situation really helped me in terms of things. Now, I still needed to talk to somebody, and I still needed some other things, but them not just throwing it at me helped me. We then go to Karen's house. Kierna comes over. We find out that they've gotten closer, especially after her being assaulted at the GNA event. We find out about her preparing to build a home, or currently building a home with her man by the name of Greg. They've been together for a while. As this house is being built, she is living at his current place. Like most parents, Karen and Kierna's mom feel like she should at least wait until she's engaged. We find out that the last person that Kierna lived with was her ex-fiance, who passed 9 years ago. I would like to learn a little bit more about her backstory. We also find out that Giselle didn't invite her to Karen's birthday lunch or to this GNA event that's coming up. I don't really get why she didn't do it. When I first wrote the notes, I said Giselle needs to let that go. That was Ashley's friend that went there to start the problem, not Kierna. But later on, Giselle explains why she didn't invite her. She's like, I'm good with not going after what happened at the event. So on to Ashley. Ashley meets up with Stacy, lets us know that she met Stacy before at a news studio. Ashley says that there are some news people that just don't know how to turn off their news voice, and Stacy is one of them. Once she said that, I could not unhear it, because she does sound like she's giving, she's an announcer of some sort. Especially given that we've been told she was raised in Detroit. She doesn't give off, I don't know, that to me. Ashley questions Stacy's living situation, says that, she doesn't really think that it's a good idea that they're still living together. I feel like, Ashley, you got some nerve. You haven't even begun the process of your divorce. You and Michael just 2 years ago were living together, and you're still not divorced. We just saw you in your attorney's office last week saying that you're ready to get this thing started. So you kind of aren't in any position to talk. And if you really want to be frank, the house that you're in, you share with your ex too, because you didn't get it on your own. He's associated with it somehow. He's helping you pay bills. Next, the ladies talk about race. I'm going to be honest, y'all. Some of y'all may not like what I have to say, but I'm going to say it. So Stacey wants to know what Ashley's nationality is. Ashley says that she's biracial, but she identifies as a Black woman because she was raised by her Black mother. She can relate more to Black women, and she was around her Black family. You can relate to Black women to a certain extent. Every Black woman's situation is not the same. There's colorism and other things that go along with it. So I hear what she's saying, but I think that needs to be taken into consideration as well. She says, Stacey does, that she is struggling with how to explain to her daughter that she's Black as well as German. She wants to know how Ashley approached it with her boys, and Ashley's like, it is a struggle, but it's a little different for me because my kids don't have much exposure to it, and they don't really have the appearance of being Black. Which is true, because if you think about it, if you look at Ashley's boys, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. And as a result of that, that's a whole nother conversation that I feel like y'all kind of, you talked about it, but you skimmed over it. And for real, it's more to it than what they're saying. So she says she wants her child to be proud of her side as well. This is an unpopular opinion that I'm going to say. I feel like that's on Stacey. My cousin is Jamaican. He had a child with a woman who is Puerto Rican. As early as I can remember, because she's now in college, but as early as I can remember, as young as 5, she would run around the house telling you that she was Jamaican and Puerto Rican, or she was Puerto Rican and Jamaican. And one minute she would be speaking Spanish, and the next she would speak in patois, like nothing. Just, she would answer you sometimes using both, right? Because her parents instilled in her from the very, very beginning, the importance of knowing both of her cultures. That was one of the things that I give them credit for in the very beginning when they decided to have a child, that they talked about. They had the hard conversations. So Stacey, you're a Black woman who's struggling to tell your daughter who she is, but it's her job as her mother to let her know who she is. Do your part. Expose her to your culture. It's not on your family who's in Detroit to do that. It's on Stacey. Buy her books like Ashley suggested. Take her to the museum. Have the hard conversations. They're right there in DC, where there's a phenomenal museum that you can take her to. Educate her, because at this point, the schools aren't doing it, and it's your job to do it. I just don't understand at this point with her being, I think she's 8, what's holding her up. This should have been something that she had been working on a long time ago. It's just not making sense to me. I feel like there's more to it, but maybe I could be wrong. Y'all let me know. So Stacey told us earlier in the episode that even though she's separated, working on the divorce, that her husband is dating several people and that she is dating someone. There's this person by the name of TJ. She met him at her job. They've been seeing each other, but he does not want to have intercourse until they're married. Ashley acts like this is a foreign concept, talking about somehow it's been 17 years of her dealing with the same man and blah, blah, blah. I'm not knocking it, to each his own. If she's willing to wait, then she's willing to wait. But at the same point, Stacey, if this is a point of contention, then you don't need to be with someone if you're not on the same page as him. He sounds like he is a Christian young man, because you said that y'all go to church together and things of that nature. And you have to be, if you're a Christian, equally yoked. And one of that thing that I think people don't think about when you hear that word is your mentality, your morals, things of that nature. It's not just this one thing. It's an array of things. Enough of that. So we get to Karen and Giselle. She's making her specialty, which is some cookies. Giselle asks how she arrived. Karen's like, I got here through Uber. If Beyonce can have a driver, then I can too. She asked if she liked the Hatitude party, and Karen's like, I did, but I feel like, it wasn't to celebrate me, but it was to interrogate me. It was to question me. And I feel like it was messy for you, Giselle, to, mention there was a non-alcoholic drink. I get that Karen felt away. I do believe that Giselle was trying to be shady. But Karen, you're making it worse because it looks like you have something to hide. You did not get charged with DUIs and DWIs and no registration and all these other things, these 9 charges for no reason. If you can't talk about it, say it's a pending case, but you being here left this door open for the ladies to want to question you to see what's going on. Because if the roles were reversed, Karen would be doing the same thing. So Karen tells us that she also, she told Giselle that she felt like the whole giving Wendy that ugly bucket hat was messy too. Giselle's like, look, we talked, we're going to do better. But Jacqueline does have some questions for you. She's wondering if, Karen and Jacqueline spoke. And Karen's like, I haven't spoke to her yet, but she's in timeout. I'm putting her on ice because she's not being a real friend and by saying some of the things that she said. I don't feel like just because someone's calling you out and questioning you doesn't mean that they're not a real friend. I feel like a real friend should be able to do that. Now, whether she needed to do it on camera, that's a whole nother story, but you can have that honest conversation with your friend. Karen wants to know why Karen wasn't invited to the birthday party. Giselle thinks it's messy to let her know. She's like, look, I only had a certain amount of space, so I couldn't invite her, but I will invite her to the GNA event. Giselle says, okay, I said that. I think they're both messy. Giselle's like, I don't have an issue with her. We find out about GNA moving to health and wellness, partially because of her father's death. I don't understand how they're doing it, like what they're doing to move to health and wellness, because we weren't really told. You haven't really conquered the athleisure wear. So to know now you're moving on to something else seems like a premature decision to me. We find out that Karen has an event on the same day as Giselle. She's being honored, but she says to Giselle, I'm not going to miss your event. Giselle's like, I got an invitation for that same event 3 months ago from someone else, and Karen was not on the list of honorees. So I'm wondering if somebody, dropped out and then she got put on the list, or if she called to pull some strings to get up there. Like if she figured out a way to get added. We later find out that the event is at the same time as Giselle. So it's the next morning at 6:30. Karen sends a text to all the ladies saying like, look, there are 2 events scheduled at the same time. I encourage you to go to both. Transportation will be provided for those that do. Giselle feels like it's messed up because the ladies had already said that they were going to be at her event, whereas the ladies all have mixed feelings about it. I like Karen, but if the other ladies were planning to attend Giselle's event, she shouldn't have done it that way. She shouldn't have sent it out to all of them. I think it would have been appropriate for her to send it to Kierna and to Wendy because they were the closest to her. Giselle responds to the group text and she's like, look, they should all y'all should just go to Karen's event. We find out later on that the event is collaborating with the National Brain Tumor Society, that the foundation is committed to helping with the discovery of brain tumors. We find out that her father went to the doctor, got a scan, was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and then because it wasn't detected early enough, 12 days later, he passed. That turnaround is crazy. She didn't even get a chance to process what was going on with her father before he was gone. Ashley arrives at the event. The event space looks nice. Her and Giselle go out and talk. Giselle's like, look, they don't even have to come anymore. I invited them first. They should have been here. This event is important. I understand that, but I don't think that she handled it appropriately either, especially with what she did at the end. And you told them to go to Karen's event, not yours. the whole thing seemed tacky to me. Ashley is shocked and disappointed at Karen doing this because she feels like it's a dig. She feels like Gizelle has been there for her. We see the ladies all meet up at the Sprinter to head to Karen's event first. They should have went to Gizelle's event first and then went to Karen's. But I also have a problem with you all not showing up on time. Why are y'all leaving out? If the event started at 7, leave out of your house, meet up, whatever the meetup spot is, head there by 6:30, get dropped off so you can make it to Gizelle's by 7, leave at 8, and then go to Karen's. Karen should have been last. Karen said there are horrendous things being written about her in the press, and this award is going to look great. At GNA, Vivian arrives next. Gizelle was surprised that she's arrived, but she's happy. Vivian's like, look, I RSVP to be here. We then see Stacy on the bus, and she's talking about how Karen put everybody in a uncomfortable situation, but that's not on Karen. That's on them. If you already RSVP'd for Gizelle's event, then you should have showed up to Gizelle's event. As I said earlier, to me, the only two people who should have thought twice about it were the two that I mentioned. Stacy, or one of them, then I think either between Stacy and Jesse, they end up FaceTiming Ashley, say that they'll be there at 8:30. Ashley's like, that's not going to work. This ends at 9. Try to get her by 8. They agree. They find out that the event spaces are 24 minutes apart from each other, which means if they go to Karen's event, they'll only be able to be there for like 15 minutes, and then they have to leave to go to the next. Wendy's like, it's DC. Traffic is bad at this point. It's not going to work. My primary focus is Karen. Karen agrees. So Ashley tells Gizelle, like, look, I just got off the FaceTime and they're going to be around here around 8. Gizelle says they shouldn't come. Jackie and then shows up to the GNA event. She wasn't invited by Karen in the group chat. Gizelle tells her Karen is probably mad at you because of what you said about waiting for the court process to play out. Jacqueline's like, look, I meant what I said. It's the truth. We can talk about it later. I'll talk to Karen. Back at Karen's event, Karen is over there gloating because she feels like all the ladies came to support her because she's more likable. I feel like it's because you're friends with them. A lot of them aren't really familiar with Gizelle, or their interactions with her aren't many. So I'm not surprised. Like, Kierna is cool with Karen. Karen was there for Kierna when she was bleeding from her forehead. So they bonded over that alone. And Wendy and Karen were cool. So yeah, she's going to want to support her. Wendy is definitely going to pick one over the other because they're only being cordial because of the show. Karen isn't eager to go to another GNA event, she says, because of what happened at the last one. Wendy doesn't really fool with Gizelle, as I said. She says, I came to see Karen receive an award, and I'm going to stay and watch that. So I'm not going. So the ladies say they need to hurry up. They get in the Sprinter. He says, we're about, I could get there in 15 minutes or whatever. We find out that it's 8:02 when they arrive. So it's Mia, Jess, or Jazz, I can't remember her name, and Stacy. They arrive, they walk in, and Gizelle immediately walks up to them, telling them that they gotta go, then proceeds to call security on them to escort them out. And that's how it ends. They were late, but they didn't deserve that. I think that they showed up at 8:02. You should have allowed them to stay. You just wanted them to be there for you completely. And if this was really about the foundation, if this was really about bringing awareness, then you should have been more than happy to receive their money and the awareness that would come from them taking pictures and stuff like that at your event to promote for it. But Gizelle, her ego is bruised. You all tell me what you think. Are you team Gizelle in this or team Karen? Put it down below. Until next time.